What this seems to establish to me as I look at it, that behaviors that may be occurring, according to some of your hands, within the Coca-Cola community are harming the very things that you said are most important. Does that make sense? It's affecting reputation, recruitment, retention, trust, raising new ideas. You indicated, if I summarize all of it, that this type of behavior can lead to bad business results. My point is, this goes to the bottom line. If you talk to other colleagues, if you talk to executives, what they'll tell you they worry about, and tell me if I'm wrong, is market share, is retention, is recruitment, is trust, is getting the best people to work and having the best place to work. Behaviors like this undermine that. Now, I understand that you're going through a lot of change right now. I read your financials and know how much you have to invest on new equipment, new acquisitions, and marketing. It's extraordinary. It's a big risk. Changing behavior, I believe, though, costs absolutely nothing. And look at the payout is if you can help eliminate some of these negatives. Does that make sense? Now, what I'd like to do is mention one other thing. Did anyone have any observations that they would care to make regarding the tone of voice or the body language of any of the participants in the scenario? Yes, to number 2.
When the first gentleman walked in, he used his binder and slapped I guess the manager at the head of the table. No one made eye contact with anyone else in the group. And there was one other one. What else do we have? And not making eye contact or kind of a shift in body movement away from the person who was late. I can't remember his name. Javier. Just a shift in body language and not making eye contact with him throughout the course of the whole meeting was very obvious.
I know through a variety of the programs that you have gone through, you've heard about this. It took me the longest time to think of this in the significance of the workplace, but things like that you mentioned, body language and tone of voice, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're subjected to that tone of voice, body language, lack of eye contact, you feel excluded. And it doesn't matter who you are, you will figure out that there's some reason why people aren't paying attention to you. It could be your race, ethnicity, national origin, sex, it could be you're from another division, another part of the company, but it's an exclusionary message that's being communicated. Now, I want all of you to fix it. And this is going to take a little bit of time, about 2 minutes. Here's what I need. The group of you who are individual contributors, I want you to come up with a list of behaviors that should be followed by leaders in this company to take these negatives right off the video. What should leaders do to eliminate these negatives and further the positives? Does that make sense? And it's got to be specific. It's got to be behavioral, and we want to come up with a short, specific list. Fair enough? Now, this is a company that should be able to come up with short and specific, and I'll explain the reason why in just a minute. Second, those of you who are in leadership roles, I want you to come up with a list of behaviors for individual contributors. What should they do on a daily basis to avoid this from happening? And what we're really doing is answering, A, what's this got to do with me? Because what you've just said is that behaviors like this that are exclusionary, non-inclusive, and don't respect people's differences for whatever reason have a business impact. And we're now going to answer the second question. Okay, I know what this has to do with me. What do I have to do? We're each going to develop a managerial and an employee checklist of what we've got to do, and I'm giving you about 3 minutes to do it, starting right now. We'll come back at 12:08. First, I want to ask the individual contributors, what are the specific behaviors on a daily basis that managers, supervisory personnel, and leaders need to do to make sure that we don't have an environment with the negatives that you talked about? What is it? In the back, we have at the upper right, number 2, please.
It's a request that if a meeting is being held, that an agenda be sent out in advance by the person sending the meeting request out, so that everyone has a possibility to review it and perhaps add items that they want to discuss. It's a request that the manager holds the meeting and starts the meeting at 10 o'clock if the meeting's starting at 10. And then those people that come late will see that the manager's holding to that 10 o'clock meeting time.
So it's provide a meeting agenda, set a time,
and send out the meeting agenda in advance so that everyone can see it and add to it.
Okay. Other actions that managers should take. Anybody else? Yes. We have a number 2 right there.
Throughout your day, you're interrupted with lots of different things, and to find the right balance to say, give me a minute, I need to finish this, or to put it down and focus on what they want to say as a manager so that they feel like they're getting your time and your attention. So shifting those gears constantly. I've had managers where you just want to grab their face and look at me because you can't get them to focus. They're answering the phone or doing those behaviors that they don't look like they're paying attention and listening to you. So, but you also get interrupted as a manager that you're in the middle of something. And I've seen other managers, I've got a 10-minute window every hour that you can come by and talk to me, otherwise don't come in this office. So,
all right. What you're talking about are, if I can paraphrase, and correct me if I'm overstating, managers, leaders have to have certain listening skills. The listening skills broadly need to indicate that you're paying attention to the person who's talking to you, and your point is you're respectful of they're respectful of your time. Now, you mentioned do something to limit interruptions. Might be to turn off the BlackBerry, move away from the computer. Would that make sense?
Yes.
Anything else that shows that you're listening?
Well, eye contact is probably the biggest one.
Eye contact. Anything else that can show that you're listening? Body language, and we all know what body language tells us, that we're not paying attention. You're talking about very specific communication signals that you're saying need to be integrated into daily actions. So the turning off the computer when you can, turning off the telephone or the BlackBerry, focusing on the person, looking them on the eye, not having evasive body language, moving around, grimacing, listening. It's a behavioral skill. Is there anything else from number 1 in the back, please?
I think as a manager, you should communicate with your team members more often. Like if she notices that guy keeps coming late to the meetings, it's already a habit. She should talk to him, communicate with him more often and understand his situation. On the other hand, the employee should, at least call in to let the manager know, okay, there is something emergent in advance, and then the manager should have prepared well for this kind of emergency, because everybody will have emergencies, personal things, whatever. But also, I think as a manager, even as a parent, if you have several children, you try to be fair, but sometimes you cannot help yourself from favoring one child, to the others for some reasons. But as a manager, we're all human beings. We probably will say, oh, I like this employee better than the others. Sometimes we cannot control, but I think you, as a manager, you have to at least try your best to show, to be fair.
Let me talk about fairness, because that's one of your key drivers in all of your initiatives on this subject. The point that you made is, as to Javier, and which I would say applies to the whole video if we extend it, is to hold people accountable for your standards. That's what you were saying. Javier needed to be held accountable for being there on time if it's an issue. Would it be fair to say we could take that principle and extend it to the others who don't act in ways that they should at the Coca-Cola Company? Does that make sense? So we've got listening skills, accountability skills. What else should setting the meeting skills, what others, it may be very obvious, it really is, what else should the manager have or not have done in the meeting?